that because initially we thought of could we do a call-in number, but I feel like that would be absolute mayhem if we tried to do that.
Good on Zoom.
Yeah, I was trying to think of how we could limit it to enough people to ask enough relevant questions to enough large audience without, because if we opened it kind of wide open, we're talking thousands of people would probably call it.
What was the question?
Oh, I'm sorry for trying to get a. We're trying to work out a way to get subject matter experts with a phone or Zoom or something like that. Well, I guess 16,000 people. Yeah.
That's all, 60,000?
Why do you want to do a Zoom?
They're talking about later bringing in some experts, sub-experts.
Oh, sub-experts.
In terms of some sort of a, in other words, not the commander.
I got you.
When I say sub, I mean submarine. I mean,
It's like submarine's not right.
Hey, Caleb.
It's got to be submersible.
Can you check on Bambuza and see if you're getting live signal from me? Yeah. And when you get there, I want to test my microphone to see if it works. Yeah. We got disconnected, yeah. Mic test, mic test, mic test, microphone test. Mic test, mic test, mic test, mic check. Mic test, mic test. All right, we are going out on Bambuza then. I'll let them know that.
Joel? Good. You good? Yep. Anybody? No. Okay, now we're good. Testing, testing.
Check, testing, check, test.
Oh, yeah, let me get out of your way.
Everybody set up okay? Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today for today's press briefing for the continuing search for the submarine from the Canadian research vessel Polar Prince. I'm Chief Petty Officer Robert Simpson, the Assistant Public Affairs Officer for the 1st Coast Guard District. In just a few minutes, or just a moment, I'll be introducing Captain Jamie Frederick. He's one of the response coordinator for the rescue efforts. I do ask after his brief statement, we'll be opening up to some questions for you all. We do have about 10 minutes today, so after his following his statement, we do ask to limit everybody to one question, and we'll try to get around as many as we can. Me and my staff will be available afterwards so that we can take some additional questions that may not have been able to get to or may not answered fully to get your contact information, and our staff will be able to get back to you with that information. This time I'd like to welcome Captain Jamie Frederick, Response Coordinator in the 1st Coast Guard District.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Jamie Frederick with the 1st Coast Guard District Response Department, which oversees search and rescue operations under Rear Admiral John Mauger, the 1st Coast Guard District Commander. I'll provide a brief recap of our coordinated search efforts for the 21-foot submersible with 5 people on board, along with providing an update on current search efforts and plans for the next 24 hours. On behalf of all the men and women of the United States Coast Guard and our search partners, we offer our most heartfelt thoughts and prayers for the 5 crew members, their families, and their loved ones. Our crews are working around the clock to ensure that we are doing everything possible to locate the Titan and the 5 crew members. Yesterday, we stood up a unified command consisting of expertise from the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, Canadian Armed Forces and Coast Guard, and the Titan's parent company, Ocean Gate Expedition. This is a complex search effort which requires multiple agencies with subject matter expertise and specialized equipment. While the U.S. Coast Guard has assumed the role of search and rescue mission coordinator, we do not have all of the necessary expertise and equipment required in a search of this nature. The Unified Command brings that expertise and additional capability together to maximize effort in solving this very complex problem. Out of order here. As a recap, on Sunday, the Coordination Command Center in Boston received a report from the Canadian expedition vessel Polar Prince of an overdue 21-foot submarine Titan with 5 people on board. The Titan was attempting to dive on the wreck of the Titanic approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod and 400 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland. Approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes into the scheduled dive, the Polar Prince lost all communication with the Titan. The Polar Prince conducted an initial search and then requested Coast Guard assistance. The U.S. Coast Guard in Boston assumed the responsibility of search and rescue mission coordinator and immediately launched search assets. Since Sunday, the Coast Guard has coordinated search efforts with the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guard, Air National Guard aircraft, and the Polar Prince, which have searched a combined 7,600 square miles, an area larger than the state of Connecticut. These search efforts have focused on both surface, with C-130 aircraft searching by sight and with radar, and subsurface, with P-3 aircraft were able to drop and monitor sonar buoys. To date, those search efforts have not yielded any results. Search efforts have continued through last night and today. Today, the vessel Deep Energy, a 194-meter pipe-laying vessel, arrived on scene with underwater ROV capability. They have rendezvoused with the vessel Polar Prince and commenced an ROV dive at the last known of the position of the Titan and the approximate position of the Titanic wreck. That operation is currently ongoing. Additionally, a Canadian P-3 aircraft is currently conducting a 6-hour search of the area, and several C-130 aircraft and another P-3 are scheduled to fly this afternoon and this evening. The Canadian Coast Guard cutter, or vessel, John Cabot, is scheduled to arrive later this evening, and several other Canadian Coast Guard vessels and the Coast Guard cutter Sycamore are en route. Additionally, the U.S. Coast Guard has the U.S. Navy's SUPSAL Supervisor of Salvage and Diving Command is working with U.S. Transportation Command to bring additional assets to the search area. These more capable assets will be staged out of St. John's for further transport to the search area. There are also several private vessels, research vessels with ROV capabilities that are making preparations to join the efforts. So I want to reiterate, this is a very complex search, and the unified team is working around the clock to bring all available assets and expertise to bear as quickly as possible in an effort to solve this very complex problem. We'll continue to provide updates as they become available. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the crew and the families and their loved ones. We will provide unwavering effort as we continue the search. And I think at this time we'll open it up and take a few questions.
Chief, how an ROV would work, sir? It's tethered to a ship, and what if you see, and then could it actually tug or pull something?
So each of the ROVs, so that's kind of a vague question, right? The ROVs have different capability. It's our understanding the current ROV that is deployed at the site now has some limited capability. It has a camera on board, but again, each of those is different, and we'll be gathering more information as that operation goes on through the day.
Captain,
how many
Tom
hours
Costello
is
of
all
NBC News. If your submersibles can find this sub, is there any way to retrieve it and save the people on board?
Yeah, so right now all of our efforts are focused on finding the sub. What I will tell you is we have a group of our nation's best experts in the Unified Command, and if we get to that point, those experts will be looking at what the next course of action is.
Captain, how many hours
Good.
of oxygen are left that you know of, or that you can estimate right now
So-
on the submersible? And does it have to be approved or regulated?
Sure. So first of all, it's an estimate, right? Because we know from the data we were using as a starting point was 96 hours. We know at this point we're approximately about 41 hours.
41 hours left.
Yes,
And does it
correct.
have to be approved or regulated? The submersibles that go through anything that you know of?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact technical piece of that. We know there's about 40 hours of breathable air left based on that initial report. Again, that was just the initial report based on 96 hours from when the vessel.
Captain,
Right,
how-
good.
even with that amount of time that's left, let's say 41 hours or so, if you were to find the submersible at this moment, would that give you enough time to save these 5 people on board?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. What I will tell you is we will do everything in our power to effect a rescue. Again, it's going to depend on if the ROV finds something. It's going to depend on what they find, what needs to be, what steps need to be taken next, and really that is for the experts within the Unified Command to take a look at and then decide what the best course of action is.
Captain, BBC News. It seems to have taken the mothership vessel and those running this operation about 8 hours to contact you on Sunday after they lost contact with the sub. Is that a cause for concern?
Right now, our effort and our focus is on searching with what we know. As soon as we received the report on Sunday evening, we immediately launched search efforts. We flew assets that evening, and we've continued constant surface and air asset searches since that point.
Captain,
Go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned that the search operation is very complicated. What are the biggest challenges you're facing?
Well, this is a complex search, and it's complex for a variety of reasons. You're talking about a search area that's 900 miles east of Cape Cod, 400 miles south of St. John's. So logistically speaking, it's hard to bring assets to bear. It takes time, it takes coordination. And then we're dealing with, two pieces of, you're dealing with a surface search and a subsurface search. And frankly, that makes it an incredibly complex operation.
Captain, will the U.S. Navy or the Canadian Navy be able to get salvage equipment on time before the air runs out?
Obviously, getting salvage equipment on scene is a top priority. Unified Command is working through that to prioritize what equipment we can get there. There are ongoing operations right now via the U.S. Navy and Transcom to get equipment staged in St. John's and to get it on scene. I can't give you an exact timeline of when that's going to happen. What I can tell you is there is a full court press effort to get equipment on scene as quickly as we can.
Is that equipment already on the East Coast, though, or is it coming from the Pacific, for example?
No, so some of the equipment that's coming is coming from the East Coast, but again, we're talking about very heavy equipment. It's a complicated transport operation, but the best professionals in the world are working it, and that's U.S. Transcom.
What kind of
When it
equipment
comes
is
to
it?
the equipment, can you put in more detail? Do you have the Curve 21 that's being shipped up to that location? And since you don't have a fleet tug vessel with the Apache to decommission, what other assets you have? You have civilian ships.
Yeah, so like I said, there are several civilian ships that have offered services heading that way. There are additional Coast Guard cutters. We hope to have a Canadian Coast Guard cutter on scene this evening. We hope that they may be able to assume on-scene commander. Polar Prince has been doing a great job with those duties, but if we could take some of that from them, that would be good. But your question about specific equipment, I'm not going to get into talking about specific equipment. Frankly, I'm not an expert on what that equipment is, but again, I can tell you we have experts in the Unified Command that are going through that, prioritizing what we need and then how we get it on scene.
Can you tell us about the personnel from Boston? How many people from here are out there, and also what equipment?
From Boston specifically.
Yeah, from Boston.
So Boston, where Boston plays a role is the command center, the rescue and coordination center is here in Boston. The aircraft that are coming in are coming from different locations, but the command structure is being worked out of Boston. And I think we have time for two more questions.
In all your years of experience, just how unique is this? Has the Coast Guard ever had to deal with anything like this?
Well, I don't want to speak about if the Coast Guard has ever. I would tell you it's a unique operation. It's a challenging operation, but right now we're focused on putting everything we can at it and searching as hard as we can and getting the assets out there as quickly as we can.
And so
The
is
private
it
companies,
deep
the
sea?
other assets that are rushing to the area, what sort of assets do they have? Do they have ROVs? Do they have similar technology that was gained?
Yeah, so there are some additional assets with ROVs. There is one asset that is working to get on scene with a decompression chamber. So those are all pieces that are coming together, and we're working those logistical challenges to get them there. And I think we'll take one more.
Is a deep sea rescue a realistic prospect? What would that look like?
Well, I can't tell you exactly what it would look like. I would tell you that we are out there, we're searching. We wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be searching and putting all effort out there. I think that, if the sub is located, that's a question that then the experts need to look at what is the best course of action for recovering the sub. But I think it's going to depend on that particular situation and if we encounter that.
Sir, is it true that the British offered assistance and they were told we don't need your assistance at this point?
No, I'm not aware of that. Again, what I would tell you though is that the Unified Command is working through prioritizing. We know that there's equipment out there that can be brought to the scene. The Unified Command is working through prioritizing what equipment we need and then how we get it there.
And the
So,
British are also responding to the ship as well?
yes, it's my understanding, correct. And I think we're going to wrap it there. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming out today. Include this portion of the brief on there. I can stay behind just to take some additional stuff that maybe wasn't answered. We can try to get some information back to you kind of later. Yeah. Yeah.
So are they not out there? Are they just working here?
Right. So the Rescue Coordination Center that he's talking about specifically, that's based in Boston. So the personnel that are working in the command and control environment, as far as building a lot of the search and rescue plans, sending out the information, coordinating those pieces, are here. The people affecting the mission, so the pilots, the air crews, all of the ships, those are based out of different areas. So our pilots, air crews are out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The Coast Guard cutter Sycamore, I believe, is out of Newport, Rhode Island, but they were operating already in the Arctic. So there are a number of people that are here working in that staff element, but are not physically located out in the search area, if that makes sense.
Command and control.
It is, yes.
Does Ocean Gate have another submersible that they could try to send down there?
I don't know.
They just have
It sounds like, for the most part, the staging area is moving to St. John's.
So yeah, I believe, a lot of it into St. John, Newfoundland, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's so. Our aircraft, the C-130 aircraft, they're based out of there as well. So I know there is a number of pieces going out there. Logistically, it's easier as opposed to from here.
Organizing the different assets available. Ashtrays now is
Okay.
so can you give a little bit more clarity on what kind of assets we are putting in the water? I specifically asked about the curve 21.
Yeah.
Is there one on the way?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So I know a lot of those questions were unanswered on there, and it's a lot of it's because we're not the right agency to be asking that. I know as in the command we should be to be the one to give the answer to you, but we want you guys to hear it from the subject matter experts. So that's our next plan. Is what we want to do is give an opportunity for you all to get all of the subject matter experts we can into one location to kind of get those questions answered. To give you kind of the best thing we can do. Yeah.
Anticipated that in those 40 hours, when that becomes a recovery mission, you can choose another recovery mission.
I'm sorry.
When those 40 hours
yeah,
are up,
yeah.
and for the estimate, is that the moment you shift from a search and rescue to a recovery operation, if you choose to do a recovery operation, given the difficulties?
I think it really depends on a number of factors. So anything that could change between now and then, as far as information response, things like that could change that. So it's not a hard and fast, timer's up, time to transition. There's a lot of factors that go into it that could extend something like that.
Excuse me, what role does the amount of oxygen play in one of those factors? And with 40 hours of oxygen left, when would you then transition from a search and rescue to a search and recovery?
I don't know an answer to that. That's definitely outside, but we can try to get back to as we transition through that phrase. We'll have better answers for that.
Is there information about the conditions out there? Like what exactly are the Coast Guard facing?
So the weather-wise, yep. So actually, I have, I believe the weather on scene today was 5 to 6 foot seas.
What does that mean, sir? Sorry, like a wave?
So wave height, 5 to 6 feet. I believe it was 15 knot winds. Visibility was very foggy yesterday with very little nose visibility, but was increasing today, and they were expecting much better conditions from an aerial search perspective.
So it's from 5 to 6 waves today,
Yes.
and it's cleared in terms of visibility.
Yes.
High winds persist, or
It was 15 knot winds. So in terms, it's about average out there, right?
How long would it take a typical Coast Guard vessel from the U.S., for that matter, from Newfoundland, to get on site if they're running at maximum speed?
That depends on the cutter itself or the ship itself, because they all have different speeds.
Yeah. Do you have an average, just so we have a feel for how long it would take to get there?
Well, depending on where they're coming from, it could be a matter of 2 days up to 4 to 5 days. It just depends on where they would be deploying from.
2
So.
days from Newfoundland, for example?
I don't know. We don't have any ships up there, so I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. The Canadian, we're trying to find out more information on the Canadian vessels that are assisting on there, sort of what their capability and speeds are. I just don't have an answer for you on that right now.
Does the Coast Guard have a line on a piece of equipment that is capable of going down to the Titanic?
The Coast Guard specifically, no. This type of a salvage operation in our expertise as an organization is.
No, in terms of private companies, if you reach.
So that's all part of the conversations with Unified Command to find out what capabilities are out there and explore all avenues that they can.
You're looking at that now.
The Coast Guard is usually pretty good about releasing videos and
Yep.
like that of their operations. Is there a specific reason why you have these operations?
We just haven't received any yet at this point.
And you don't expect us to?
We do. We do expect to get some. Like I said, we do have some graphics that we're trying to look to send out this afternoon, as well as we've reached out to the aircraft crews to get footage from them. Now I know with the ROVs that are on scene today, like I said, there just hasn't been any before, so we are requesting out there to try and see what we can get to go through that and try to make that available to you all.
What did the images from the command center?
That's it. I don't have an answer to that. The Coast Guard assets itself, no, we do not have any Coast Guard cutters on scene. No, so the research vessels, I just don't know what the capabilities are at that.
Do you think it's pretty unrealistic that it has made its way to the surface and it's waiting to be spotted? Because you've done all of these aerial searches, but you're quite confident it's in the water.
That's why we have both types of assets, because we don't want to exhaust one possibility in vice of another. So we don't want to rule out that it is on the surface. And the way that our crews train, this is the environment they train in. They're specialized in being able to see these things from the air. So they've given it everything that they have to it. And if it's on the surface, we're fairly certain that we would be able to find it.
You wouldn't find out.
No, that we will find it if it is on the
Do you
surface.
think it's more likely it's not?
It's impossible to say.
Can I just ask you to, I realize this may be challenging, you may not have the answer,
Yeah.
but trying to get a sense of how far away the nearest naval asset would be that has that lift capability, salvage capability. Is it coming from North Carolina, from Florida, from Boston? Can you give us any idea of how far away it might be?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Yeah.
Do you know if anybody, do you know if that vessel has a pinger or some other way of communicating with text?
From the research vessel,
The Titan itself.
yeah. Communicating with them? No,
Yeah.
I don't have specifics on technology on board.
Do you understand they've lost contact in the past on other expeditions? Has the Coast Guard ever been involved with them?
Not to my knowledge.
But Ocean Gate is cooperating with the investigation.
Absolutely. They're part of the unified command in here, so we're all making decisions together.
So did they have any
I don't know, but if they do, it's definitely being discussed as far as their capabilities.
Would they tell you if they did? I mean, so it doesn't sound that hopeful, to be honest.
I don't understand.
Like, it sounds like the nearest vessel that it's not clear how long it would take to get a vessel there.
And that's the biggest part of the challenge of all of this, is trying to understand how the capabilities are working together, how they would do it, the technical aspect of that.
So if you're a family member of somebody on board, what should you be thinking? Do you have a message for the family members?
I think it was clearly stay with Captain Frederick on there.
Can we ask you, could you just describe, the crush depth here? We're talking about 400 times, as I understand it, what we all experience at sea level. What can that do to a vessel?
I can't speak to the scientific side of that. Again, this is just more or less trying to get some background information for you guys on there. I don't have any of that information on that.
Can you tell us about what the circumstances where the crew would feel at this point? I mean, submersible doesn't necessarily, it goes in for a dive and walks right back
Yep.
up. It's not supposed to be there for that long. Is there?
And that would be a great question that we could try to get answered for you with that subject matter expert discussion that we talked about to get an opportunity for you guys to ask that question, because it'd be much more important and realistic for somebody within that community part of the command that would be able to answer that question a lot clearer than anything I would be able to. So no,
When might you provide your next one?
so we do have a press release that's going to be going out shortly with the graphics we talked about. Probably similar information to what was passed today. If any new information comes up, we'll update that. But I think ideally we'd be putting out press releases daily, and would look at probably doing another briefing tomorrow.
Can I just ask you one last?
Sorry, what's hold? I don't know.
Could you just reiterate for us, how big of an urgency is this for the Coast Guard? How big of a priority? Do you prioritize these things? In other words, do you classify them as priority red, 1, 2, 3? How big of a priority is this?
This operation is our top priority right now. Within the district, we have, every available asset that we can that's to this that we can dedicate to it on this. That's why we are spending so much time and energy trying to coordinate really this enormous response effort to truly understand the scale of how far away this truly is. And in the context of the types of assets that we can get out there over something that's that enormous, something larger than the state of Connecticut, and a perspective of what is available to be able to search in those kind of conditions so far offshore. Understand, 900 miles looks like is an enormous amount of distance.
Can I just ask, I've looked to the vessel before, but is a deep sea rescue effort realistic, and what that would look like?
I don't know what it would look like. Realistic, and that's all part of the conversation in Unified Command. They're looking at doing everything that they can to find out the options that are available.
Excellent.
And family members have indicated if I come on board, is there an official manifest or log saying exactly what was on that vessel?
There is
Will that
on
be
there.
released publicly?
So not until all the NIST notifications have been completed, through that process can we release names in that way. I know that some have gotten out, but they have not been through us.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you, and we'll send out an update when the next advisory or advisory will be out for you guys. Thank you. Not that I'm aware of. Nothing that we are setting up. Now, I don't know if they are up there independently. I'm hoping that they would at least reach out to us to let us know so we could help kind of amplify that, but no.
If the Canadians take over the on-site command out on the water, would then command move to St. John, or would it remain here? The ICC.
No, I think more or less what he's talking about with the ship being out there is they can actually control the assets that are physically on site as far as where they're going, less that the operation itself is in command. So it would be in here is the resources to come up with all of those plans, come up with all of the search and rescue operation side. Will likely always stay here. When we say like an on-scene commander, they're just the one that's on scene physically that can communicate with everyone to make sure that we're deconflicting airspace, that we're covering the right areas, that people are searching the right
You guys
spots.
collaborate every day, I'm guessing.
We do. This one's just especially challenging because you just add in an additional layer of distance, of time, of all those other elements with it.
Thank you.
So for the different asset questions, I was talking to Scott over at Transcom. If it's not him and it's not you guys, who has the ball? Steve or Steve?
So no, I think it was just what's likely we just probably disconnect there with communicating with their public affairs folks. That's the really challenging part we're having here right now. Is normally when you have a response operation, everybody's already here, and there isn't. This is it for us here. Everybody else is either in Canada or elsewhere. So it's just a challenge we're trying to do. And I think that's just a product of that. So let me see what I can get.
Yeah,
because that's not fair to you.
Yeah, because like the underwater like salvage folks that are probably good for like the remote vessel questions, but I think the guidance they're getting from